Chapter 6, Episode 8. What was in the equipment of the hook? The gear of the hammer was real. Falma peered into the gear. The structure is complex and large-scale. And judging by the behavior of the pebbles floating in the air between the gears, it seems that the other side of the floor, which also serves as a mirror, is a zero-gravity room. It was clear at a glance that humans could not build or even construct the gears of a hammer. Pious words seemed to be partially true. Well, I think you have seen the gears of the hook. Then I'll ask you again. What do you want to do with this gear that must be forever powered by divine force? Pious solemnly questioned Falma's judgment. Falma opened his mouth without being able to put his words together. What do you think of the temple? No matter what I do here, it just moves the problem forward a few hundred years, right? There is no guarantee that the next patron deity will come down, and if possible, I would like to ask for a permanent solution. If this continues, I will regret it and become an evil spirit. The word evil spirit came out of Pious' mouth, and the Empress, who was listening next to her, asked with a grin. If the high priest turns into a demon, those who stayed behind will be in trouble, she said. As Falma frowned that he had heard something wrong, Pious looked over the underground cavity where cold air was rising. Pious' blank expression reminded me of emotionlessness. No, I'm still here. Even in the Holy Land, most people don't know. Do you know this story? Every 12 years the high priest changes. Pious slowly removed his collar and turned on his heel to show his back to Falma and the others. His sickeningly pale, emaciated skin was so badly branded that it covered his back. 90% of the scars knitting the brand were discolored black, and the remaining 10% were bluish. Falma strained his eyes at the strange sight. It seemed to be of the same quality as the emblem of the Empress and Falma's medicine deity. The Empress, who seemed interested, asked Pious frankly, "What is the patron deity that this sacred crest signifies?" "This is not a sacred coat of arms." Melting Circle Yukaijin, who wears the divine artifice on his back, becomes the high priest. On the day of the dark eclipse, this magical formation will begin to move. What will happen then? Move? Falma asked in rapid succession. Divine power alone is not enough to move the gears. Without lubricating oil, the gears wear out. Even hammer gears need lubricating oil. Falma read what Pious said and was shocked. This magic circle is used to lubricate people to the hammer gears. I will melt down, go through this mirror and lubricate the invisible gears. And when I disappear, the high priest, I don't know who it is, but the one who carries the next melting circle will be the high priest. I can't see the gears. There is not a single high priest in history who has survived. Falma was stunned, but the surrounding cardinal priests also ignored Pious' remarks as if it were only natural. Pious was in danger of losing his life by some mysterious mechanism. Falma felt his body stiffen. With Falma confused, Pious connected his words as if to confirm the situation. The hammer gear is real, isn't it? As you saw. Is that so? Since Falma had met Pious, he had some doubts that Pious was not exceptionally strong among the priests of the Holy Land. It is a worldview that the stronger the divine power, the stronger the protection of the patron deity. If the amount of divine power is the only characteristic of a high priest, it was assumed that it would be appropriate for the highest-ranking high priest in the Holy Land to be inherited by the person with the most divine power in the Holy Land. Apparently, Pious has a tragic history of being chosen for the melting circle. It was the same situation as when the fire god's crest was engraved on the Empress, but it was anything but an honor. The fate that awaits Pious is harsher than that of the Empress. Anyway, this will be my grave. No matter what you do, it's bleak, but it's not bad. There will be many people you can talk to. The large number of dead people Falma saw in that underground room. These were the spirits of successive generations of high priests bound to the earth. I can't help but tell you, why did the patron deity create such a thing? Pious muttered with a sigh, without asking anyone. Falma didn't even have the words to answer that question. The higher the priests in the Holy Land, the less they believe in the tutelary deity. Faced with melting circles without a hint of mercy and repeated sacrificial deaths, there is no way that faith would arise among high-ranking priests. I am troubled, Yakushi Falma-sama. Even though you have unprecedented divine power, you are not a patron deity and you know nothing about gears. Mosquito. Falma had no choice but to accept pious disappointment. When will we meet a patron deity who knows the truth about this device? And why must we continue to be influenced by the curse that the tutelary god has created? I would like to know one day. Humankind will one day receive the grace of the tutelary god. I'd only wish for the time when I will be freed from the dominion of the name. Before meeting Pius, Falma used Juliana as a pawn, imagining Pius as a prudent and cunning man who had it in for Falma's life many times. Moreover, given his morals, it was suspicious that the Holy Land had Pius as its high priest. However, Pius' cold-heartedness is not only directed at others but also at himself, and he proves to be a man who took upon himself an inevitable fate and gave his own life as a living sacrifice. Pius-san, how many years did you say you were on the throne this year? Could it soon be this year? When Falma asked, Pius put on a thirsty grin. Even if it is acting, it is surprising that you are interested in such a trivial matter. As a patron deity who created such a bloody and tearless killing machine, I feel conflicted. I hope you like it. The Empress was in her 10th year of enthronement and said she had met Pius, who was high priest at the time of her enthronement, so 10 years had already passed. The high priest changes every 12 years. If these words are true, Pius will also die soon. Pius smiled slightly. I am already dead, half dead. What I think about is this world after death. Please tell us how much time is left. Until then, we must solve the mystery of the hammer mill and stop the chain of tragedy and hatred. Falma tried to find out from Pius about the next dark eclipse, but Pius would not speak. Don't act so merciful. It's enough. I'm not pretending. When is the next dark eclipse? After Pius is killed, another person is chosen. The chain of nightmares continues. Falma was overwhelmed by the thought that he had to prevent this disaster. At that time, Falma and the others were attacked by a shock that rose from their feet, and they all lost their balance. Earthquake. Huge. However, if you look closely at the surroundings, the entire structure is not shaking. It was not an earthquake. During the hesitation, cracks appear all over the floor, and after a few seconds, the mirrored floor crumbles. Pius and the Empress, who were in the middle of the room, flew into the room with the safety gear. Outgoing, wow! The leaked air flowed into the vacuum and grabbed the two with a furious force. At this speed, when the bottom is completely removed, they will all be thrown into a vacuum at the same time, and as they fall at the same time, they will be crushed by the gears of the hooks, and instant death is inevitable. Falma made an immediate judgment and with the help of material generation pulled out a metal plate at his feet. While reinforcing and regenerating the collapsing floor and saving the priests from falling, he slipped his body through the cracks in the boards to be repaired into the vacuum and penetrated the mechanics of the hook's gears. Pius, who was sucked in first, was hit directly by the hook's largest blade and had already turned into a mass of flesh. Although the Empress escaped instant death, she began to fall violently into the center of the hook harness. Her eyes widen and she struggles, but she is flung into the air and continues to fall heartlessly. Even though he seemed to be wielding his staff and trying to use divine arts, he could not use fire arts in a vacuum. While Falma's whole body seemed to stiffen due to the low temperature, he forcefully kicked the back of the metal plate, accelerated all at once and reached her, grabbing her thin wrist. Falma was stunned as he stopped and climbed up, and as he was about to return to the ground from the side of the gear, the staff of the medicine god had lost its buoyancy. Hey, power! I can't go back? On the contrary, Falma's whole body was deprived of divine power. I can't feel my strength. Also, the usual tingling sensation when receiving divine power through the Yakushinman does not exist. As if Falma himself was pulled into the gears of the hook, he received a tremendous pull from its core. Falma trembles. The mechanics of the whole gear looks like the mandibles of a predator. No. Not good. I'm being eaten. When Falma could no longer resist the pull, Falma and the Empress were enveloped in a thin film like water and drifted through space. The inside of the cell was warm and breathable, and the breathing of the suffocating Empress was maintained. While Falma was confused, he heard a soft girl's voice that seemed to echo in the cells. Hi. You've come to a place like this? You? It seems that the Hammer's gear wants a new victim. But you can't come here yet. Who are you? What are you doing? Falma looked around again, searching for the owner of the voice, but he was nowhere to be seen. It's as if the cells had a will. I was in a similar situation to you and was the last to be captured here. I'm sorry. I would like to introduce myself, but I forgot my name. No way. Falma's intuition worked that it might be an existence called the Protector Deity. Falma remembered the preliminary knowledge he had received from Solomon that the existence that was to be the final guardian deity was a girl who was an agricultural god. A person who was in a similar position to Falma and was worshipped as a tutelary deity. In other words, did this deceased person come from the earth? Agricultural god. Didn't you? Are you from the earth? Agricultural god, have you ever been called that? I don't know what the earth is. In fact, I was called to this world as an agricultural god, called by this equipment, and disappeared. The rest here is my ego, which will soon melt, and the previous ego has already melted. The voice does not feel any lust for life. It really gives the eerie feeling of talking to the dead. Did this grave guardian send a human pillar from the outside world again? Once started, this device cannot be stopped. It continues to be driven by a sacrificial guardian deity and a human soul, but it seems that it wants you very much. Its history is full of unreason and mystery, and Falma cannot accept it so easily. Falma and the Empress were saved by her, but Pius died immediately. Falma humiliated and asked if he would miss this opportunity. Why did you help me? And who is the Tomb Guardian? I created this world, and on the one hand, I made it fall apart and fixed what was about to break. Don't you remember the one who left you in this world? Falma traces his memory. Just before she is awakened by the lightning. He was found in a dark place. It feels like he remembers being wrapped in someone's hand. My memory of a dark place, however, was terribly vague, and the scenes were fragmentary and abstract. Falma shook his head as if to correct the hazy memory, and spoke to an invisible existence. Can't you stop this device? We may be able to resist the Gravekeeper, but we can only stop by destroying this world. It is said that this universe is parasitic in many universes with countless hooks and shares complex causes and effects. Imagine what would happen if one of them collapses while they are still connected. No. Even the Earth. That's right. Is the world you lived in called Earth? Was there divine art there? There's nothing there at all. It would be like that. This divine art is convenient, but it is a habit. It seems that the time has come. Come back to Earth. From here I saw what you did in this world. You can't come here yet. The Gravekeeper may annoy me, but this time I'll help you. Thank you, After that, no answer came from her no matter how many times Falma called the subway. The cells carried Falma and the Empress to the ground as if they were sliding through the floor. Falma, Solomon helped Falma wake up. The Empress was exhausted and did not regain consciousness, so I laid her down on the spot. The priests left on the metal slab took refuge in the spiral staircase and were in an uproar. Why did this floor collapse? I've never heard of that before. Didn't I put too much divine power into it? Where is His Highness? That's it. His Holiness Pius has died. Falma told the truth to the confused cardinal priests while hiding part of them. Falma would probably be accused of Pius murder, but there was nothing he could do about it. Pius was killed instantly after colliding with the gear of the hook. He could not use divine arts on the other side of the room, so he could not save Pius because he did his best to save the Empress who later fell. The cardinal priests, unable to do anything about the collapse of the floor, had no choice but to listen to Falma's story. If Falma had not gone down with material creation, they might all have died, and it is also true that the priests could not help Pius. Falma looked at everyone and said, "Let's go back to the surface. It's dangerous here. I think it's better to seal it." Falma confirmed that the Empress, who had not regained consciousness, was still breathing, and had her carried to the surface. As Falma climbed the stairs behind them, his eyes suddenly fell on the red burn scars on the Empress's back. There were no such burns on His Majesty's neck. "What is this?" Falma threw up and activated the diagnostic eye. What I could then clearly see under her dress was the same melting circle that Pius had shown earlier. The melting circle that Pius wore disappeared and it possessed the Empress. "Sire." "No way, the next victim." Falma remembers Pius' death. He was only crushed to death by the melting circle, not melted to death. Will the Empress be safe during the next dark eclipse? I see many evil spirits today. Well, it's been a while. It's strange. Blanche, who visited the Baron's mansion on the outskirts of the imperial capital for Ellen, rides beside Ellen on horseback. This visit was the first case Ellen had seen in years. It is a real demon possession. Ellen, seeing through it at first sight, drove the evil spirit out of the patient, and Ellen's divine arts drove the evil spirit away and disappeared into the darkness of the forest. Ellen had no more divine power and needed recovery. She was simply exhausted. On her way home, she finds an evil spirit following an old woman on her way to farm work. "From now on, I will try to possess her." Ellen drew her magic wand. Water forbidden. Water droplets released from Ellen's wand surround the evil spirits and cut them. However, I cannot maintain the technique as I thought because I no longer have divine power. As if surprised by Ellen's magic, the evil spirits fled. Ellen, who is not a priestess, cannot use purification magic, so she cannot completely purify evil spirits. It's frustrating at best to drive them away. I can't believe I'm going to use a stick like that. I can't get enough of it. Eleanor-sensei, what should I do? I'm scared. Blanche-chan has to fight too. But how many is that? In recent days, the imperial capital has seen an increase in demonic possession and the appearance of evil spirits. The priests of the imperial city temple are stepping up their patrols and cleaning them out one by one, but they don't seem to be able to keep up. When she let Blanche go home and returned to the apothecary, the gates of the apothecary of the other world were closed, and many of the holy knights of the Medici's family had gathered to increase security. Temporarily closed. Ellen made her way through them and hurried to the apothecary. Then the store was deserted and there were no customers, and Cedric, Celeste and the cleaning staff were cleaning up broken glass and medicine bottles scattered around the store. Celeste noticed and called out to Ellen. "Welcome back, Mr. Eleanor, Mr. Charlotte. It's on the second floor." "What happened to La-chan?" When Ellen ran upstairs, La was asleep in the second-floor treatment room, surrounded by Roger and Rebecca with serious faces. Ellen rushed to La's side. "La-chan, what's wrong with your pale face?" Even when Ellen asked about it, the pharmacists looked at each other. Then the always bright Roger opened his mouth painfully. "An evil spirit has entered the store and attacked Mr. Lot, who called out to him," he said. "Why?" "The Holy Knight, the gatekeeper of the de Medici family, Roger and Cedric fought against demonic possession and divine arts, and in the meantime Tom sent the boy to the temple for assistance." It is said that a priest from the Imperial City Temple rushed to the scene after receiving a report that an evil spirit had appeared, and performed purification magic on the evil spirits that had cornered Cedric, Roger and the Holy Knights. Fortunately, the demon-possessed person was safe and remembered nothing. It is said that in the last days the priests were called incessantly throughout the capital. Since High Priest Kum had led the Empress to the Holy Kingdom, there were only about 5 priests left in the Imperial Capital Temple, and they asked for reinforcements from the Holy Kingdom. Ellen sees a bloodless Lot and is dismayed. Lot had been bitten on the neck by an evil spirit and treated properly. "Did you cast a purifying chant on Lot-chan's wounds?" "I applied the purification divine art at Mr. Roger's discretion. I administered antibiotics as a preventive measure because my wound was beginning to develop a fever. Mr. Selst mixed the elopement potion. Rebecca nods strongly. When you are hurt by possession of evil spirits, the procedure is to drink a potion of cleansing chant in sobering. Still, there are those who cannot help themselves with the curse on their bodies. Ellen believes that half of the curse is due to infection. Part-time apothecaries did their work as traditional users of divine arts and forgotten apothecaries. Another job that first-rate and second-rate apothecaries who can use divine arts and noble doctors did, other than curing patients. It is a struggle to find out, exorcise and save the lives of those who have been harmed by evil spirits, which at first glance can be mistaken for diseases. Liken. What is it? If you don't wake up by tomorrow, the priest will come to perform additional divine arts. I have been following you all day today. However, I want you to mix an anti-curse medicine that works well. Rebecca said she would take care of Lot. The temple seemed worried against Falma, but in times of need, the temple of the imperial capital protects its citizens. Dear Eleanor, have you seen the second floor? Yes, Rebecca-chan. It looks like it was a tough fight. The things in the medicine cabinet are safe. As you can see, the things in the store are like that. The evil spirits came, so the things in the store may have been contaminated. If the store owner is not here, why? It's not just Falma-kun. His Majesty and the head priest are also absent. Maybe, Ellen said. Because Falma-kun is not in the capital? No, that's not all. Falma made a round trip to the Marseille area and other places, leaving the imperial capital for about a week. However, such an anomaly had never occurred before. I have not been to a place as far away as the Holy Land for a long time, but a change is taking place. I am worried about Falma, who went to the Holy Land and accompanied the Empress. So far, the evil spirits of the imperial capital that had been crushed by Falma-kun's mighty divine power, which had influenced the entire imperial capital and seemed to be extinguished, these are now sprouting up. What do you mean? Ellen thought. If the evil spirit didn't disappear because Falma was in the imperial capital and surrounding lands, but he just couldn't get out. But there is still a hidden treasure in the temple of the imperial city. The temple relics were supposed to form a sanctuary that kept evil spirits away. Is this shrine broken? Then Roger clapped his hands as he remembered. Mr. Shinto priest, they say that the treasure has been stolen. Eh? Why at a time like this? Ellen shouts. The temple was robbed when security was weak. There were several footprints in the treasury room, so it was probably a robbery. Falma-kun, Juliana-chan and Solomon-sama will go to the Holy Land with His Majesty. Right now, there are only 5 priests in the imperial capital. According to Ellen's predictions, there are only 5 priests in the imperial capital who can use purification magic. The worst is over. Ellen will surely stare outward and blurt out. There will be a backlash. In this way, the people of the imperial city might once again spend their days in fear of evil spirits. Ellen felt fear rising from her body.